Welcome back to the Money and Wealth Show. I'm Sterling Fox in conversation on the Vancouver waterfront with Premier Gordon Campbell. And sir, there's a lot of other items I want to get to in this conversation, but let's finish up the discussion of the HST with a remark by Mr. Van der Zam this week that there's going to be a significant growth in the underground, no tax involved economy as this drives a lot of economic activity beyond the view of the tax collectors.
Well, of course, Mr. Van der Zam says whatever he wants, regardless of the evidence. The evidence is that it actually is a far more transparent tax. It is a far more progressive tax. It actually raises all of that into the economy because you don't have all of the compliance issues that we've dealt with in the past. There is one tax across the board. I think the other, Mr. Van der Zam has said, for example, if you're buying a condominium for $300,000, it's going to cost you $6,000 more. That is totally false. It comes from nowhere. He made it up. It's kind of like a lot of things. They're kind of Ouija board things that Bill comes up with. The fact of the matter is a $300,000 condominium will probably cost around $400 less. There is no home in British Columbia that currently exists that will be affected by the HST whatsoever.
Okay.
It is only new homes. And for a new home to be impacted, it has to cost $525,000 because everyone else gets a full rebate of their HST. Mr. Van der Zam said heating fuels were going to cost. They're totally rebated from HST. So I really actually have a lot of confidence in British Columbians. I know this is difficult. I know it's a challenging, sort of economic set of things. You hear different studies, etc.
Nobody likes to pay more tax.
Well, and that's why they're paying less tax. The fact is in British Columbia, as I said, people pay on average about 37% less personal income tax today than they did before. Having said all of that, I think that, I hope that people will take the time to get the information, to understand how it works, and to actually, and keep on asking questions about it, because that's how they're going to get comfortable about it. At the end of the day, this is great for jobs, it's great for investment, it's great for our founding industries, it's good for small business, and it's going to put British Columbia on the path to having the most competitive taxation regime in the world. That's, it's not about me I'm thinking about here. I am thinking about my kids and my grandkids. I want this to remain a province where people want to invest and they build their quality of life. The HST is one small step to get there. It's not the end of the world, it is a beginning. And it's really, I think, builds on the economic strategy we've had for almost a decade, which has made us one of the fastest growing, most successful provinces in Canada. And frankly, from outside of British Columbia, people look at us and say, you guys are doing pretty well, you're well positioned to come out of this downturn, and we're seeing some of the benefits of that right now.
Earlier this week, the director of the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, Richard Fadden, made some bizarre allegations about certain unnamed municipal politicians here in British Columbia, along with a couple of unnamed ministers of the Crown in somebody's provincial government, being unduly under the influence of foreign powers. You reacted to that in the news the other day. Care to comment any more about it?
Yeah, it was a totally unprecedented, a totally unprofessional, and frankly, from my perspective, completely unacceptable comment from someone who's in a very responsible position. To sort of cast aspersions across, a wide net of aspersion across all of our municipal politicians in British Columbia without one scintilla of evidence or substantiation is completely unacceptable. To suggest that some provincial politicians, some provincial cabinet ministers, I think he said, in some province somewhere in the country, may be under some foreign influence, totally unacceptable. And then yesterday, he said to us, oh, well, maybe it's not as serious as it. That's not on. So, I'm sure that it will be dealt with in a way that I think is right for Canadians. This is about Canadians having confidence in CSIS.
Absolutely. And in their elected officials.
And I can tell you this, I've had a lot of people, Chinese Canadians who've contributed enormously to this country, saying, what is he doing? We have very strong relationships with China, very strong relationships with India, Korea, Japan, England, Scotland, France, Germany, Switzerland. We're a small, open trading economy. We have taken pride in the fact as a country that we are open to others. We will celebrate other cultures. I just thought it was a completely unacceptable and unprofessional comment.
And speaking of being under the influence of foreign powers, on a slightly closer to home level, there are those British Columbians deeply suspicious of the Premier, having attended the shadowy and secretive Bilderberg conference in Spain a few weeks ago.
I heard
All
that.
of a sudden you've returned, and Lord only knows what you're up to now that they've got their claws into you.
Well, I can tell you it was a very interesting and actually fascinating meeting. You know, I think one of the things we do know today is we're all part of this world. And frankly, a province like British Columbia, a country like Canada, we can be a model for the world, we can be an example for the world. That's what I always strive to do as a premier, as an elected official. I can tell you in Europe, they're very concerned about the economy. We should be concerned about the European economy. They're very excited about the opportunities that Asia presents to them. We should be excited about those opportunities in Japan and Korea and China and India. And so it was a fascinating meeting for me. I met some very interesting people who know a lot of stuff that I've never even thought of, and I was really glad to be there, be part of it.
A lot of rumors flying around about the determination of one Gordon Campbell to maintain his seat in the legislature and in the Premier's office. Rumors abound that you're done, sir. You're going to step aside.
I've heard, actually, I've had more career counseling in the last few weeks than I ever had before. I can tell you this: I was elected in 2009 to do a job on behalf of everyone in this province, to make our economy stronger, to keep British Columbia in the lead, and to help lead the province into the 21st century. I've always said, as long as I'm excited by this job, as long as I can get up in the morning and people give me their confidence to go and make the difficult decisions, not necessarily the popular decisions, I've always been willing to stand up and make the difficult decisions on behalf of British Columbians and to be held to account for that. I'm very fortunate to have the job. I've got a great caucus with me. We've got a great province, and Canada's future is all before us.
No end in sight then.
As far as I'm concerned, I got the energy, I've got the commitment, and as long as I can keep working for people in British Columbia, I'm going to try and do that.
Our special guest this week on the Money and Wealth Show has been the Premier of the province of British Columbia, the Honourable Gordon Campbell. Sir, thanks so much for having us down to your office here on the Vancouver waterfront. We appreciate your time very much.
It's great to be here. If you want to try the chair, give me a call.
I don't see that in my future. Okay. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon. My name is Larry Ray. I'm the Chairman and CEO of Molycorp Gold Corp. As the name states, we do have a deposit we're developing in British Columbia, which is a pure molybdenum deposit. But our focus these days is on magnesium in Nevada. Through serendipity, we discovered a large deposit of magnesium running about 10% with a high purity and consists of about 256 million tonnes at this time, 52 billion pounds. Our main emphasis is to move this project forward by beginning a drill program later this year in which we can increase the integrity of the resources into the indicated and inferred, as well as increase the resource itself. For further information, please visit our website at molycorp.com or phone us at 604-531-9639.
Tax Tips with David Ingram.
Are you getting a divorce? Well, you got to sit down and take a look, because there's child support and there's alimony, spousal support. Spousal support is deductible to the person that pays it and taxable to the person that receives it. Now, what goes on out there is that everybody wants to get child support if you're the person with the child. And when you get child support, it's not taxable. But you've got to understand that child support that isn't taxable is really hard on the person that's paying it. You can actually end up with a person who's paying it ending up paying twice as much tax as the person that's receiving it if their income is lower. So you should sit down and be intelligent about this if you're the person receiving the child support. It may be you could get more money by letting your person, your ex that's paying you the money, pay you a larger level for support that they get a tax deduction on, and you have to pay tax, but because of your lower income you don't pay as much tax. You may end up with more money in the family if you pay attention to that. So if you're getting a divorce, getting a separation, whatever, and there's child support and spousal support involved, sit down and do the mathematics and do it sensibly. Don't just do what everybody wants you to do. That's a tax tip from David Ingram.
And that's our show for this week. Our thanks to David Ingram and to our special guest, Premier Gordon Campbell. And thank you for joining us. If you have some thoughts about today's show that you'd like to share with us, please send them along to comments@themoneyandwealthshow.com. I'm Sterling Fox. See you next time.